I remembered the day the TV stopped working and the news anchors frantically reporting on the virus that was spreading at an alarming rate. No one knew what it was, where it came from, or how to stop it. And before we knew it, the world had turned into a nightmare that we could never have imagined. The military troops had been called in to help, but even they were no match for the sheer number of the living dead. They fought bravely, but in the end, they too fell to the relentless onslaught of the zombies. Survivors were forced to keep moving, never staying in one place for too long. They had learned the hard way that becoming too attached to a location only led to heartbreak when it inevitably became overrun by the dead. Families had been torn apart, with loved ones succumbing to the virus and turning into mindless creatures. Partners were left to fend for themselves, sisters and brothers forced to turn against each other to survive. The streets were now battlegrounds, and the once bustling cities were now ghost towns. The sound of gunfire and screams filled the air, a constant reminder of the danger that lurked around every corner. As the days passed, the world grew darker and more ominous. It was as if the very essence of life had been drained out, leaving behind only hollow, lifeless streets and buildings. The zombie apocalypse had arrived, and with it came a never-ending cycle of fear and survival. Every day, we counted the passing of time, unsure if it would be our last. But as the days went on, we realized that it wasn't only the physical darkness that was consuming us. The network, our lifeline to the outside world, had stopped working, leaving us with no updates on the chaos. All sources of endless entertainment had died, cutting us off from the rest of the world. The radio had also fallen silent, leaving us completely isolated. We were left to fend for ourselves in this desolate world, relying on our own instincts and abilities to survive. But even then, we couldn't escape the constant reminder of the danger that surrounded us. Dead bodies littered the streets, a reminder of the hordes that roamed freely. If you die, you become one of them. The streets were crowded with zombies, their glassy eyes and decaying bodies haunting reminders of what we had lost. Dead bodies were scattered everywhere, declaring the fragility of human life. They were people we used to know, friends and family that we had to leave behind when they turned. But despite the danger, we had to scavenge for supplies. The few remaining stores were picked clean, with only a few essential items left behind. It was fast-paced and nerve-wracking, as we had to dodge both the zombies and other survivors who were willing to do anything to survive. Our group had learned to move quickly, always on the lookout for any signs of danger, and today was no exception. We had received word that a nearby market still had some compulsory supplements and medicine left, a rare commodity in these circumstances. We made our way there, a sense of urgency and dread weighing heavily on our shoulders. We knew we had to act quickly, as every passing day meant a lower chance of survival. Weapons at the ready, we made our way to the market. As we entered the store, it was a chaotic scene. As I stood in the darkness of the abandoned market, counting the days since the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread wash over me. It had been 2 weeks since the electricity went out, 4 weeks since the internet stopped working, and 6 weeks since the last functioning radio station went silent. The once bustling streets were now empty, with only the occasional moan of a zombie in the distance, breaking the eerie silence. People were scrambling to grab whatever supplies they could before the zombies could hear us and make their way inside. We moved with precision, each member of our group assigned a task as we quickly grabbed what we needed. But just as we thought we had secured our supplies and were ready to make a swift exit, a situation ensued. Some of our group had vanished, and our friends were torn apart before our very eyes. With heavy hearts and a newfound sense of urgency, we made our way out of the market, knowing that this could easily happen to everyone in a matter of seconds. The world is unforgiving and cruel, no denying that. We must keep fighting and pray that we would make it through another day in this infested world. I couldn't help but wonder what happened to those who got left behind. It was a constant reminder that in this world, there was no room for mistakes or hesitation. Surviving meant making tough decisions and leaving behind anyone who couldn't keep up. As the night looms, the streets become a haunting place. Cities are overrun by hordes of zombies. It's been months since the outbreak started, and the survivors have been counting the days, trying their best to stay sane. We move from one place to another, never being able to stay in one location for too long. The once safe havens have now become death traps, with the rotting walkers lurking around every corner. The survivors are constantly on the lookout, ready to make a run for it at any moment. I made a promise to myself that I would never give up, no matter how bleak the situation may seem. I would continue to pick myself up every time I fell, and I would persevere through the gloomiest of times. With a renewed and maybe a naive sense of determination, I packed up my supplies and set out into the unknown once again. I knew that the road ahead would be filled with uncertainty, but as long as I kept moving forward, I'll never lose hope.